Hi, my name is Kimberlyn Wayland and I am design coordinator here at Premier Yarns, partnering with Michaels for I Love Yarn Day to show you how to make this super bright and fun bucket hat. And we're super excited to share this pattern with you as part of I Love Yarn Day with Michaels. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to make this really bright and fun rainbow bucket hat today. And for this project, you can definitely use whatever color combo you want. We're using Craftsmart value from Michaels. And the great thing about this yarn is there's so many colors and so many prints that you can use. But for this pattern, we have 5 different colors. And the main color is this really bright and fun multi. And this is Craftsmart Fiesta. And then also for this pattern, I'm using 1 skein of bright red, neon orange, butter, and amethyst. But like I said, you can use any color combo you want, or even just one color, or stripe it however you would like. But I'm going to show you the colors that I'm using. So to get started, just a little bit about the construction of this hat. It's a top-down hat, meaning we're going to start at the very top and we're going to work in rounds all the way through. So we're going to increase at the beginning and then work even in this fun stripe pattern and then increase again at the bottom to make this rippled fabric. So to get started, I'm going to show you in your pattern. The special stitch that is mentioned is a magic ring, and I'm going to show you how to do that to get started. So we're going to begin with this Fiesta, and you're going to just take your yarn and lay it over your forefinger and middle finger, and you're going to wrap it and then grab your yarn in the back and chain 1. And you have this nice little ring to work in. And the reason we're working this way is because you're able to really close up that hole and not have an opening in the top that you can sometimes get when you work, say, a chain and a slip stitch ring. So I'll show you that one more time. You're going to just take your yarn and lay it over your pointer and middle finger. And you can wrap once or twice, but I prefer to just wrap once. It still does the trick. You're going to pull through and you're going to chain 1. And just a note, I am left-handed, so I am wrapping around my right hand, but if you are right-handed, you're going to want to lay the yarn over your left, middle, and forefinger and wrap it that way. And it's the same. It works the same. Mine's just on the opposite hand. So to get started, I'll show you that once more, just so we can get started on our first round. Wrap around, pull through, and then chain 1. And as you can see on this first round, we are working 6 single crochets into this ring. So you just simply work 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And once you've got your 6 single crochet in this ring, you're then going to take this little tail that you started with and you're going to pull. And as you can see, when you pull, the tail gets longer and the circle gets smaller. So you pull it closed, and there you have the very beginning of your hat. So for this first part, as you can see, we start with Fiesta and increase until we get to the body of the hat. And we're going to increase for the first 11 rounds. So we just did round 1, ending with 6 single crochets in the round. And one more note about this pattern, instead of chaining and slip stitching when you end each round, we're going to just be working in a continuous spiral. So technically you don't begin a new round each time. You're just going to move your stitch marker up, and that counts as the beginning of your round. And it's just one big spiral, and it's a lot easier than it sounds, so I'll show you what I mean by moving the stitch marker up with each round. So for this next round, we're going to do 2 single crochets in each single crochet stitch. So in this first stitch, we're going to just, and since I pulled it closed, it's a little tricky to get in there, but there we go. Pull through and single crochet, and then this is our first stitch of the round, so we're just going to put our stitch marker right here into this first stitch through the 2 legs on the top. And there you have it. That marks the beginning of the round. Instead of, usually to mark the beginning of a round, you would do it with a chain 1, chain 2, depending on what height of stitch you're working with, but this one we don't chain anything, we just keep working in a spiral, and moving that stitch marker is the beginning of your round. So 2 in this first. So we just worked 1, we're gonna work another single crochet, and then in each around 2. So 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 2 more in this last single crochet. 1 and 2. So we have round 2 completed, and I'll show you a few more rounds just so you get the hang of how we do these increases and how you can kind of see the pattern of each round and what we do to increase all the way to the end. Because with each round you'll see, like for example, this first round we did 2 single crochets in each, and then the next one we're going to do 2 single crochets in your first, and then 1 in the next, and it repeats. So the bigger your top of your hat will get, the more space there'll be in between each increased stitch. So I'll show you what I mean by that. On round 3, you're simply going to work 2 into that first single crochet again and move your stitch marker to that first stitch. And then you work another single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to continue with that 2 1 2 1 pattern. So 2 in the first, 1 in the next, and then 2 in the next, 1, 2, 1, and so on, and we'll have 18 at the end of the round. 1, 2, and then we're going to work 1 in this last single crochet. And I'll show you one more round just so we can get the hang of how we work these increases. So once again, for this next round, instead of every 2 single crochets and then 1 in the next, it's going to be 2 single crochets in the first stitch and then working 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And that will continue to increase until we get to the end of round 11. So we're going to remove the stitch marker and then add it back to this first stitch for the next round. So another, and then we're going to do 2 single crochets in the next, and then 2, and continue all the way around. And in this round we'll have 24 stitches when we get to the end. So the way this hat increases, you're going to have 6 additional stitches in each round as you go. So 2, 2, and you just keep going. And 2. And we've reached the end of round 4. And so we'll have 24 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. But instead of going through the next round, I will show you what it looks like after round 7. So we're halfway through the increases and we have 42. And then this, you will continue just in that same way. So this is after round 4, and then this is halfway through the increases. So we're halfway through the top of this hat. So you just continue in that same manner of increasing every few stitches. And as we go, those increased stitches will be further spaced out as we continue to grow the top of the hat. So I'll work round 8 for you just to give you another refresh on how to work these increased stitches. So you're going to take the stitch marker out and work the first, and then you're going to single crochet again in that same stitch. And since we are at the start of round 8, it says to work 2 single crochets in the first single crochet, and then you're going to single crochet in the next 6. So we've done 2 in the first, and then we're going to do 6 until we get to our next increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we work 2 in this next one, and then 6 again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2 in the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as you can see, it's pretty simple. The pattern increases by 1 single crochet for each increase. So the increases are 2 stitches apart in the first round, then 3, then 4, 5, 6 until round 11, when you'll end with the spaces of between the increases being 9 single crochets. So we're on round 8 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoops. Increase in this stitch. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, increase in this stitch, and then we will single crochet in these last 6 stitches. So we've ended round 8, and that's 48 single crochets, and just like we've done in these increased rounds, you're going to continue in that same pattern, but just increasing the amount of single crochets between your increased stitches. So at the end of round 11, I'll show you what that looks like. So this is after we've just completed, or we're almost at the very end of round 11. I've come to 1 stitch before the stitch marker. So actually, let me undo this one. And there's 1 stitch before where the stitch marker is. And the reason we're doing this is we're about to change colors, and we want to join that color so that we're starting this round on the stitch before the last stitch marker, or before your stitch marker. So this is where you can have fun with color, or if you're just doing a solid color bucket hat, you could just keep going and not worry about changing colors. But if you do want to change color, this is where you'll do so after round 11. So I start with, in my stripe sequence, bright red. So we're going to join bright red. And we are going to do that by inserting your hook into your next stitch, pulling your working yarn through, but instead of pulling your working yarn through to complete the single crochet, you're going to pull your new color through. And then you want to tug on your working yarn tail and your new yarn tail just to tighten that up a little, because you'll see that it gets a little loose. But if you just give those a little tug, it'll tighten right back into place. And of course, it's your preference. You can crochet over your yarn tails as you go. That way you don't have to weave in as many ends. Or you can just join and get going and weave in the ends later. It's totally up to you what you prefer. So we've joined a new color, and at this point on the hat, we're going to be working even for the next 16 rows. And that's the next 4 colors. It's 2 rows of each. So we're going to start with bright red, and then neon orange, butter, amethyst. So I'm going to show you how to do this first even row of bright red. So it's pretty straightforward. You just single crochet all the way around. So I removed that stitch marker, and I'm going to pop it right back on my first stitch of the round to keep track. And then get all our tails out of the way. And we're just going to single crochet all the way around. And this is what you'll do for quite a while. You just need to keep track. If you're following the same color stripe pattern, just keep track of when to change the colors. And for this stripe pattern, it's every 2 rows. So we're just going to single crochet all the way around in each. And we don't have to worry about adding any increases until we get to the brim. So as long as you just single crochet in each stitch around and keep moving your stitch marker, you are good to go. So about halfway around. And at this point you should have 66 single crochet stitches in your piece. Almost there. And you of course could just keep going with the bright red, or you could do a different color, or all the same. All right. And once you get to your stitch marker, for this round, it's the exact same thing that we just did. So you would single crochet all the way around again for the next round. And after this round is when we will join another color, so I can show you how to do that again as well, just to refresh. So we move the stitch marker from the first stitch and we're adding it back just to mark our spot where the beginning of our round is. And as you can see, because of how we joined the color, you cannot really see that much of a seam. I mean, if you really look, it's still there a little bit, but because of the way we joined the yarn or joined the new colors before the first stitch of the following round, you really eliminate that really visible seam. It's very minimal. So we just keep going with the bright red all the way around. And I'll get to the end of this just so I can show you how we join that color one more time. So this one, since it is so straightforward, this is a great project that you could work on with your child, learning how to crochet, very first project, or if it's something you just want to brush up on your skills, it's a great project for that. It's also very customizable size-wise. This one in particular has a 20-inch circumference. It's more of a child size hat, but if you wanted to make a smaller hat, you would just do less rounds on the top. And if you wanted to make it larger, you would do more increased rounds on the top. So it's very versatile in that way as well. And it's also great first project for someone learning to crochet, or if you've never worked in the round, it's also a great first project to work in the round since it is just single crochet. And there's very simple, straightforward increases, and there's also no decreasing in this one. So it's very simple to learn as a beginner crocheter. So you just keep going, and once we get to the end, we'll join our next color. So just single crochet. We're almost back around to our stitch marker. Alright, and remember we're just going to work up to the last stitch before that stitch marker since we are changing colors on this round, or to get ready for the next round. So we're at the stitch before the stitch marker, and just like before, you're going to insert your hook as if you're going to single crochet and pull up a loop, but instead of finishing that single crochet with a bright red, we're going to start with the neon orange and pull it through those two loops on our hook. And then once again, if you want to crochet over your tails, you're more than welcome to do so. That avoids, or it eliminates more ends to weave in at the end, but it's totally up to you. But you just want to give this a little tug, and then you will move your stitch marker and begin working your next round. And for these, you're still just going to single crochet the entire time. No increases yet. So once you do this stripe, you're going to do 2 more of orange, and then you're going to do 2 of butter, and then 2 of amethyst. And then you're going to repeat that whole thing again and just single crochet the whole way through as well. And then you're going to get to the brim where you do increases. So I will show you that next. So once you've done your stripe sequences, it will look like this. So you've gotten 2 full repeats of those stripes. So 2 of the bright red, 2 of the neon orange, 2 of the butter, and then 2 of the amethyst, and then once more. So as you can see, we're just at this point right here. And then this is where we begin increasing on these rounds right here. So that's what I'm going to show you next, is this first increase round to make these wavy brim of the bucket hat. So just like before, yet again, we are going to join a new color, and it's going to be that bright red again. So let me just snip that so I can get working with it again. All right, and then we're going to insert our hook into that last stitch of the round with our amethyst, Then we're going to pull the bright red through. All right, and just give those tails a little tug like before. And for this round, it's not just single crochet all the way around. It's a bit similar to our beginning increases. You're just going to work 2 single crochets every so often to make increases and to make that wavy edge. So we are going to single crochet 2 in the first stitch, and always mark your first stitch of your round to keep track of where you are. And you're going to work another in that same stitch. And for this particular round, we are on round 1 of the brim section. We're going to single crochet after the first 2 we did. We're going to single crochet in the next 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then we're at our next increase, so we're going to work 2 in this stitch, and then another 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then 2 again. So if you can see, there's a pattern here: 2, 10, 2, 10, all the way around. And then as you continue with these rounds, for your increases, the space between your increase stitches will increase as well, just like in the beginning. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 2 in the next one. And then 10 again, just like before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then our increase stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Increase. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And we're back at the beginning of our round when we join the bright red. So there are 8 brim rounds where you will increase until you get to the end. So the second increase round with bright red, instead of increasing every 10 stitches, you're going to increase every 11 stitches, and then that'll continue through to round 8. So the next one will be every 12 stitches, every 13, and so on until 17. So I'll do one more round with this just to show you those increases again. So I just moved the stitch marker, and I'm going to add it back into this first stitch. And then single crochet again in the next one, or in the same stitch, and then 11 until our next increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then our increase, 1, 2, and then 11 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 2, and as you can kind of tell ever so slightly, it's starting to get that little wavy pattern where the texture or where the increases are, and that'll continue as you increase. So we just worked 2, and then 1, 2, 3 until we get to 11, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then our increase. Eight, 9, 10, 11, increase. 8, 9, 10, 11. We're almost at the end of this round. For 2. Till we get back to the stitch marker. Nine, 10, and 11. So those are the first 2 increase rounds for the brim, and you will continue in the same stripe pattern that you did for the body until you reach the very end. So you'll do 2 more rounds of neon orange, butter, and amethyst, and instead of every 11, it'll be 12, 13, 14, 15, every 16, and every 17. And then you can reach the end. And like I said, you can always customize this and add more increased rounds just in that same manner to get a larger hat, or take some rounds away to get a smaller hat. It's very, very straightforward, and you can also choose whatever color combo you would like as well. But once you reach the end of your last increase round, you're going to just simply fasten off, and you're going to use your tapestry needle to weave in any ends that you have remaining, whether you crocheted over your ends as you went along or if you left them for the end. Either way, you'll need a tapestry needle just to weave in the rest, and then you are good to go, and you have your very own rainbow bucket hat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed creating your own bucket hat. Remember, you can always come back to this video, rewind any part you need to look back over, and watch it as many times as you want to create your very own bucket hat. So thank you for joining us today.